Now, if you've listened to some other of my stories, you might detect that I have a fondness for the work of Virginia Hamilton. Well, I certainly do. And this is another story that she retold in her collection, The People Could Fly. It's a little bit spooky, and it has a comic ending. Better wait till Martin comes. There was this fella named John who was a walking man. Why, he could walk from one side of the county to the other and not get tired. But one time he was out walking so far he knew he was never going to be able to make it home before dark. Up ahead of him there was a hill, and on top of this hill he could see this old deserted house. Hadn't been lived in for a long time. Now, John had heard that house was haunted, but he was a good man and knew his prayers. He wasn't afraid of any old haunts. He looked up, said, "The sky do look mighty cloudy. Maybe I could go up and rest in that house, at least until the storm passes." So he walked up the hill, and when he got up to the top of it, in front of the house, there was this crookedy old pine tree. When he walked past it, "Ow!" something cried out. Maybe a haunt? John didn't look. He wasn't going to let any old haunt catch him looking. He comes up to the porch, and that house hadn't been lived in for a long, long time. The boards were all creaky. The door, my goodness, it was rusty. He walks in. There's this big front room, and everything is creaking and moaning in that house with the wind, the way old houses do. Now, John saw there was a neat pile of logs by the fireplace, as if someone was expecting him there and just wanted him to build a fire. So he thought he would, just to keep himself warm. And when he got that fire going, he said, "Well, I think that's the best fire I ever did build, if I do say so myself," saying it out loud just to keep himself company. He looked around in that front room, and he saw there was an old rickety-looking chair in a corner that he thought might hold his weight for a while. So he pulled up to the fireplace with that chair, sat down carefully in it, and proceeded to warm himself in front of the fire. He thought maybe it would be a good idea just to say his prayers once through while he was waiting to warm up there. And while he was saying his prayers, he heard something soft, foot pads of some kind coming around from behind him. And then out of the corner of his eye, there was a shadow that came up the wall. And when that shadow came around and he could see what made it, it was a cat, black as midnight, and it had blazing green eyes, too. It walked past John, right up to the fire, picked up a hot coal, and licked it just like it was licking up a saucer of cream. Now, John had cats at home, but none of 'em came inside, and sure never any one of 'em licked up a fire. So now John thought maybe he should say his prayers once through again. Now this time he was saying them just a little bit faster. And while he was saying his prayers for the second time, he heard some more footpads, this time just a little louder. And when the shadow appeared in the corner of his eye, it crept way up the wall, almost touched the ceiling. And when that shadow came around, it was another cat, black as midnight like the first. But this one was as big as a hunting dog, and it had glowing orange eyes, too. Now this hunting dog-sized cat comes around, goes up to the fire, picks up a white-hot coal, and dusts off its cheeks with it, just like it was using a powder puff, pretty as you please. Then it comes out of the fire and lies down beside that other black cat, looks at John, bares its fangs, and says, "What should we do with that one there?" And the first cat says back to that cat, "We better wait till Martin comes." Now, John's thinking he really doesn't want to wait to meet this Martin, whatever it is, so he decides he's going to clear out of there. But that old rickety chair, his backside had just broken through the bottom of it, and he was stuck in it, plain stuck. He couldn't go anywhere. So now John's saying his prayers faster than ever, so fast you can't even see his lips moving. And now he hears something, and its footpads are plenty loud. And when the shadow comes into his line of vision, it creeps way up over the ceiling. And when it comes around, it's another black cat. But this one is big as a timber wolf. No, bigger. And it has glowing red eyes. This has got to be Martin, thinks John. And this big timber wolf, bigger than a timber wolf cat, comes around the other two cats, goes right up to the fire, and takes a white hot coal and plunges it right into its eyeball. Then it comes out of the fire too and lies down beside them other two cats, bares its fangs and growls, "Are we ready?" And them other two cats purr back with one voice, "We better wait till Martin comes." And with that, John gets up with that chair stuck to his bottom and hobbles out the door, off the porch, and then he turns around and calls back, "Mr. Katz, you tell Martin I was here, but I decided not to wait for him." And he was gone. Long gone, and he's never been seen or heard from since.